Joining us now, national security analyst Kirk Lippold. He is a former commander of the USS Cole. Sir, thank you. Tensions could not be higher. In fact, Secretary Blinken said the environment in the Middle East is as dangerous as it has been in the region since at least 1973. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that assessment, Marni. And first, thank you for having me on. But the one thing I'd like to express right off the bat is my condolences to the families, not only for the 3 service members that were killed, but let's not also forget the 2 SEALs that were killed in military operations as well in the last few weeks. So our hearts and thoughts and prayers should all be with those families. But when you look at the Middle East today, in some ways, because of Iran, it is almost a powder keg. When you're looking at it, they have caused every single one of these situations to occur, whether it's in Iraq, Syria, down obviously in what they gave Hamas to be able to conduct the horrific October 7th attacks, what the Houthis are doing, and the continued arming that they're doing via maritime operations off the coast. It is a very unstable region right now. And I think many of our allies from Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, and others are really hoping that some peace can break out, that we in fact are able to work with the Israelis to make it happen. But at this point, these attacks must stop.
And a weak response will do little to deter further attacks. Weak responses so far have done nothing. Talk about options right now for the United States and how that factors into the calculation.
Well, first, I would like to say that deterrence throughout the region has failed. Our enemy is getting a vote on when to attack us and how to attack us, and the responses we've had to date have done nothing to establish any kind of deterrent effect against Iran or its proxies. When you look at options that we can exercise throughout the region, I think we're at a point that if not now, when? How many more American lives before we hold Iran accountable? And while we don't need to necessarily do strikes that are going to threaten the leadership or even their nuclear facilities, clearly going after the drone factory, going after the leadership of the Iranian Republican Guard Corps, those are all options that should be on the table. And we should take out that leadership. We should hit hard throughout the region, work with our allies and reimpose sanctions in the region, robust maritime operations in the region as well. But I think at the end of the day, we need to be prepared that if Iran decides they're going to strike back, we should take their breath away. The hit that we make next is going to put their leadership and their nuclear facilities at risk. Your enemy gets a vote on the war that you may get dragged into. We may not necessarily be able to control what Iran does.
And given your experience with the USS Cole, what about the attacks that we've seen in the Red Sea and how the Houthis have been able to manage that situation one-sidedly?
Oh, once again, Marni, you're seeing the Houthis essentially shut down almost 10 to 12% of the world's maritime shipping through that area, through the Red Sea, the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb, and the Gulf of Aden. And so consequently, we're going to have to find a way to not only take out their ability to fire, but let's take out the targeting as well. That Iranian vessels that's in the area, it is now a legitimate target. When you look at the fact that we used to have the JTF Horn of Africa, had a very robust drone base that they would operate into Yemen to be able to take out. It is time to reinvigorate that and begin to target the Houthi leadership itself as an Iranian proxy and start taking out that leadership as well. Hold them at risk. It's always nice when they talk about the martyrs they want to have dying for their cause. But let me tell you, the leaders don't want to die themselves. Make them pay the price for what they're doing.
As you mentioned, 5 American service members have now been killed as a result of the ongoing situation there. Commander Kirk Lippold, thank you for being so blunt. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.